Welcome to Unforbidden Truth. I'm Andrew. Today I'll be speaking with Krista Funk. Krista is serving 25 to life for intentionally giving her disabled child a fatal overdose, which resulted in the charge of assault with great bodily injury to a child resulting in the death under 8 years old. Not much is out there in regard to this case, other than what Krista has said throughout the interview. Here's my interview with Krista Funk.
This is Global Tellink. You have a prepaid call from
Krista Funk, FUNK.
an incarcerated individual at the California Institution for Women, Corona, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Hi, my name is Krista, Krista Funk, FUNK. I'm from San Diego. That's where I caught my case. I lived there for several years before I went to Las Vegas, and then came back down to San Diego, and that's where the incident occurred that put me in prison. I grew up around Pasadena, California, Monrovia, in a small town. I was involved in high school and all kinds of stuff. I was a good student. I took classes at Cal State LA in junior high. I was an MGM. I tried to be a good student anyways.
Can you recall any positive memories that stick out to you from your childhood?
Oh, yeah. I had great-grandparents. Both sets of grandparents were wonderful. All the men in my family are military, and all the women are nurses or healthcare professionals. Both my grandparents on my mother's side were in World War II. They're actually World War II heroes. They were on the front lines in Germany. My grandmother was an Army WAC nurse, and my grandfather was lieutenant colonel, saving the Jewish people from the Nazis. And my mom went to 17 different schools before she graduated high school. So she went to 17 different schools, so she was very reclusive, and my mom was very depressed. Her mental illness affected the three of us girls markedly growing up. But our childhood was pleasant. We went camping. We swam in our grandparents' pool. We had chores. We, went to school. I had no disciplinary, nothing, no juvenile hall, nothing like that. Pretty square childhood.
All right. What about any negative memories that stick out to you from your childhood?
Yeah. The first really negative memory I can remember at 5 being molested by an adult neighbor. He actually kidnapped me and took me around the corner and was trying to force himself inside me and forced me to do oral sex on him, and I blacked out, and it was just lucky that his mother or whoever it was drove up in the driveway because he pushed me out of the house really fast, and I had to walk home. My mom didn't even notice I was missing, which is crazy. I was 5. All I remember is thinking to myself, my mom can't handle this. I'm just going to tell my sister to stay away from that guy. And that was the first time that I was sexually assaulted. Nothing in my family, nobody in my family did things like that. It was always like outsiders trying to get to us girls, us 3 girls.
Did anything come from the molestation? Like, did any charges come against your neighbor, or was it just
No.
something?
Nothing. It was. I kept the secret. I kept silent. Back then, that was like 50 years ago.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
It's not like now with Amber Alerts and with all the public media and social media giving children awareness of people doing things to you, to speak out. There was nothing. I just kept quiet. I really didn't even have the words for what he did to me. I just had sense memories. I was only 5. But I just remember thinking that the world there was something more to the world than what it seemed. And I just remember feeling scared, very scared.
So what was your behavior like at home growing up?
I was really quiet. I was a bookworm. I read through 3 libraries, 3 adjoining city libraries of books. I started reading when I was like 3.5. I was an MGM. I was a mentally gifted minor. I got straight A's. I was quiet. I was playful. I have two sisters, two younger sisters. I'm the oldest of three girls. My parents got divorced when I was 6, and my mother went into a deep depression, just horribly black depression, and just her mental illness really affected us girls. Our father was fine. Our father was great. We would go see our dad every other weekend, but my mother's mental state was just horrible, and she had a horrible temper. She would just snap and beat her head against the wall or beat my head against the wall. It was very scary. We were scared of my mom. It was kind of a scary, somber childhood, but I stayed outside. I was an outside kid. I was into sports. I was really athletic. I was a tomboy. I had lots of friends. I stayed with friends all the time. They were my support from the house. And then when I went in the house, I was always reading books.
That kind of brings me to my next question, which is, did you suffer any childhood abuse or trauma other than the molestation or your mother beating your head against the wall?
On the ACE test, the adverse childhood experiences, for having what seems like a seemingly normal suburban childhood, I scored 8 out of 10 for things that happened to me that got buried. It's funny, you just don't realize children internalize everything, and we don't realize it's not normal until something like this happens and it comes out later. We were normalizing a whole lot of crazy stuff. My mom was really insane. She needed mental health help, but back then it wasn't, there's a huge stigma with mental health. I mean, if you're crazy, you're the crazy wife or whatever. We didn't know it. I just thought there's something wrong with me because I was the scapegoat. I was the one that took it all for the three of us. Because I was the one that stood up to her. But she kicked me out when I was 14 because I finally grabbed her hands and told her she's never going to hit me again. And the first time I ever fought back, I got kicked out of the house at 14, and I never really, I went back a couple times, tried to go back, went to live with my dad. That was okay, but then his wife was crazy. She was bipolar and didn't take her medication and looked at me as a threat. I was just trying to finish high school. And with my class. I was a cheerleader. I was trying. I was president of Human Relations Club, and just trying to return back to my small town and finish my high school with my class. But all this crazy stuff with my mother kept occurring. And my sisters, of course, jumped on it. Bad parenting creates pathological sibling rivalry. That's for sure. And that is suffering from complex PTSD, which may be the perfect scapegoat for domestic violence later.
So did you engage in any type of criminal activity as a juvenile?
No criminal activity. Nothing more than, ringing doorbells and running, or smoking pot when we found my dad's weed when we were 14, 15. But criminal activity where I was in trouble, no, I never got in trouble.
All right. So did you engage in any type of criminal activity as an adult prior to the case you're serving time for now?
I have one traffic ticket and a misdemeanor for using a credit card that wasn't mine to get a hotel room from a boyfriend. But no. I've done things, of course. I've partied my ass off. I've done drugs. I've drinking. I've driven drunk before. Of course, I would never do that now. But you never realize bad things can happen until they do. You just think you're invincible when you're young. And I was pretty fearless because of what had happened to me already. I didn't have any fear. I didn't have any caution or any, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It was denial. I don't know. I was always the one that had to take care of my sisters, so I was always the strong one, the loud one, the bubbly one, the good kid, just putting on the face. Just trying to graduate with my class. It's all I wanted to do. She just kept sabotaging me.
All right, so let's talk about the case you're currently in prison for now. You're serving 25 to life for assault with great bodily injury to a child, resulted in the death under 8 years old. Can you walk me through the entire incident that took place and what the aftermath was that followed?
Okay, well, let me go to where me and John were in San Diego, and I'll lead up to it because it was a bunch of stuff that happened while I was pregnant that built up the trauma that I went through. So John didn't have a job. His mother was paying for his rent down in Mission Beach on the other side of the roller coaster. But like I went to New Mexico to sign a contract to become a dancer, a professional dancer, and they flew me back east to dance a circuit. So that's what I did, and I was sending the money home to John, already starting to take care of this guy, right? Sending the money home to John, take care of my cats, take care of my place. I'll be back in, a month or so. And I get back, and he hadn't taken care of anything except his own place, and I should have known from then. This guy is like, but I didn't, because I was just like, oh, let me just fix this, because this is my responsibility anyways. So we went up to Hollywood, and I was asked to go up to Las Vegas and open a club as a feature, because I'm a dancer, and everything would be paid for, all things comped, hotels, comped, limo to and from work, $2,000 a night minimum, and I only had to go on stage 4 times, everything. So we just took the opportunity and impulsively went up there. And I brought John as my bodyguard. My bodyguard, as my boyfriend. And everything was good for a while. It was good for the first year because I was dancing and I was making good money, and we just stayed in bed all the time. We were in love, but there was all these warning signs because he had this bad temper and he would flip out and he'd hurt me, but I would like, oh, maybe it's me. Maybe it's because I'm outgoing and I'm pushing him too much. He's shy and I'm making him feel tense. I kept making excuses. And then I got pregnant and I couldn't dance anymore, and he still didn't get a job. So we're staying in weekly motels, and because we're running out of money, and I'm the only one that was making any money, and I'm doing bachelor parties pregnant, and he still wouldn't get a job, still wouldn't do anything to alleviate the situation, and I'm getting more and more pregnant, and he wants me to have an abortion. He kicked me in the stomach pregnant with steel-toed boots on, threw me down on the ground at 3 months, and I really believe that that's what caused Nicholas's head trauma in the first trimester. I can't prove that. I just was laying on the floor in a ball, and he ran out of the room, and then the police came, and I said a stranger came in and attacked me. I covered for him, and that was the beginning of covering. So I have this baby, and first I go to do a bachelor party at the Barbary Coast. I think I'm only 6 months pregnant, but I was actually almost full term. I was just really small. And I'm dancing, and these guys locked me in the bathroom because I wouldn't have sex with them, and raped me, and put me into labor. I go to the hospital. I go downstairs, finally get out of the bathroom of the hotel room. John's like, where's the money? And I was like, dude, I need to go to the hospital. I'm bleeding. And I go to the hospital as a drop-in pregnancy, and they tell me he's going to be born dead because they couldn't find his spinal cord. He was backwards, but I was a drop-in, so there was the, I forgot what it's called, ultrasound. Didn't show. They thought, did I want to donate the organs? And I was horrified, what the fuck? I just went through this attack in this hotel room. I can't speak on it because you're not supposed to be doing bachelor parties at hotel rooms because otherwise they think you're a prostitute. And oh my God! So I call my mom finally, and I have the baby, and I hear this cry, and I'm like, they're like, do you want to hold your baby? And I was like, no, what are you trying to do to me? Because I thought he was going to be born dead. I donated the organs. I didn't know, And I fell asleep. I woke up in a day and a half, and he was in NICU for 3 weeks. He had brain surgery. He had a shunt put in because he had hydrocephalus, and he was in an incubator. He was full weight, but he had hydrocephalus, and I was like dumbfounded, mortified, shocked, horrified. What the hell happened? What happened to this baby? Oh my God! I mean, there was just not words for it. It was just, we looked at each other like, what in the hell? Like, we don't even realize how serious things are. You know what I mean? And so it was like me and John united better for a while because when the baby came home, oh my God, we had so many baby clothes. Both our parents came up. We got a really cool apartment. We had all kinds of baby clothes. I mean, I changed him every hour. He had like 3 children's worth of clothes. He was my doll. He was just my little love. I went from being a dancer to being a full-time mom. I mean, just total change in the lifestyle completely because he needed me. And that's when John started feeling excommunicated. But you know what? I just wanted him out of the room because I was so disgusted deep down at him for not coming through and not giving a fuck that I got raped, not giving a fuck that I was going through a pregnancy. I was just holding a lot of resentment, but I didn't have time to deal with it because I had this baby to deal with. And so that's how it went. And John would throw tantrums. He was, I don't know. I was crazy. Maybe because I would catch him in lies all the time, and then I would confront him, and he swore it was me that was making him be like that, but nobody can make you hit somebody. Nobody makes you raise your fist and smash somebody. You can't, there's none of that. But I would be apologizing. I was the one apologizing. Because I was like, please don't leave me here with this baby alone. Oh my God, the least you could do is stay here and help me with this baby, and it was just a horrible situation. And I had too much trauma to sweep under the rug. It was just building up, and then we had violent episodes. He was choking me out and smashed my head against the floor. I was walking around with a broken neck for 10 years. In my neck now, I have 20 screws, 4 rods, 4 cages, and a plate from C4 to C7. I was walking around with a broken neck for until 2000, and they diagnosed it in 2011. And Nicholas passed away in 1998. So when I went to board, I just took the picture I have with fingerprints on my neck on Nicholas's 2nd birthday. My face was turned away because my face was black and blue, but my neck, you could see these fingerprints. And Nicholas was just smiling and laughing because I was making noises for him and stuff. But you could clearly see these fingerprints on my neck. So I just attached that picture to my neck surgery diagnosis, and that's medical forensics. You can't question that, and then I don't have to talk about, oh, this guy did this to me. I stayed with him. I had to figure out why would I stay, and I realized it was because he was like my mom.
All right, so that was the backstory to your child. Can you talk about the extra crime that took place?
Yeah. Okay. So finally, in 1997, Nicholas is 4, and I have my sister's kids up in Las Vegas. Gang members shot through our house 9 times with an AK-47. We're living in HUD housing, and John is still sponging his existence off of Nicholas's Social Security. But I was like, oh, you can't leave me with this baby here. I need you because if I have to go to the store, whatever, I need you here to help me and watch him because he's a full-time care baby. But it was so ridiculous because that was distracting me from really being a full mom. You know what I mean? I was in it. I was a hot mess, totally in denial. I've gotten a lot of education since then, but it's hard for me to detail because it's hard for me to understand what my thought pattern was at that time because it's so crazy compared to now. You know what I mean? It's so crazy compared to a rational thinking adult with mature. With education, I've gotten 100 college credits on the dean's list, 3 out of 4 semesters. I mean, I'm a psychology major, so it's just really hard for me to even detail because I don't understand that thinking anymore at all. And I certainly didn't understand it then, I'm sure. But okay, so my sister's kids were there, and he had a tantrum and was hitting me in front of my sister's kids. And he stood up and he ran out of the house, probably because, oh my God, well, these kids are normal. They can speak. They could be a witness. He never had witnesses. No one ever knew what he was doing. I never told anybody that he was being violent because I kept blaming myself. And he ran out of the house, and that was it. I changed the locks. I bought a gun. I don't even know how to use a gun. I didn't know how to use a gun. I was scared to death. So I started calling his mom back to California and telling him about what he'd been doing all these years to me, finally. And then that really scared me because I was finally letting his secrets out. I did have one restraining order in 1994, but I canceled it. rescinded it. There is a restraining order from 1994 when Nicholas was a year and a half that I could tell you exactly what it says, and it would not waver from the wording on the restraining order because it's the truth. It's what was going on, you know. This guy was violent, and he hit us with a kitchen chair. So, all right. So John takes off to California. I try to get a restraining order, so he leaves me alone in Las Vegas now that he's out of the house. I'm like, oh, my God, we've been in a lot of danger. How stupid. And his mother came up and told the court, oh, no, he lives in California now, so there's no need for a restraining order. And so I was like, oh, my God, this is ridiculous. I can't even get protection now that I need it the most. And so I went to go live with a UNLV professor in the maid's quarters while I was come down. I met these Christian family, bought an air conditioner from them, and the dad came to the door and saw me with marks on my face. This is when John was still in there, the summer of 1997, and he was like, what's wrong? And I started to sneak talk to him, and then the air conditioner was broken, so I got to call and have them come back up to fix it, and we started to establish a friendship, and John let me talk to him on the phone and that family because they had a daughter with Down syndrome, so we had something in common, and there was no threat, so I was able to talk on the phone. And meanwhile, then John took off because my sister's kids were there, and they started trying to talk me into coming back down to San Diego and come home, and they said I could stay with them and in the house and be safe and start over with Nicholas alone without John. And I was like, I was so devastated by everything. I couldn't even fathom. I didn't think I was good enough to go back down to the beach and live. I couldn't believe all the shit that we've been through, but I finally did with $20, my car, 3 cats, and Nicholas, and we were rolling down to San Diego, and we rolled up to their house, and we were safe for about 6 months. But that's when I went on the run because I was not going to allow unsupervised visitation without some kind of domestic violence awareness, some kind of anger management stuff. Because I couldn't prosecute him for stuff that happened before, but I certainly didn't trust my child to be in his care unsupervised. If he had another girlfriend, she's going to be the next victim. I mean, that's just the way it is. I feel like I'm droning on. Is it bad?
Oh, no, not at all. It's explaining the story, so it's not bad at all.
Okay. All right. Because I don't want to make light of it. It's not light. It's a horrible thing that I would never fathom being in that position again. And to have my world shrink so like tunnel vision. You know what I mean? Because I had been in this one-on-one with this child for 5 years, like in the house, just him and me, Nick Jr., Nickelodeon. I'm just music, just immersed, right? And just totally, I just was so afraid of him getting molested. Nobody watched him. He slept on my chest every night. We were just snuggled up, and it's just crazy. It's just been so hard because, fuck, man. It's hard. The grief part was the worst, man. I was like, please give me the death penalty. Please, I can't seem to get that right. I am the laughing stock of all people that ever successfully committed suicide. They're laughing at me. I can't even get that right. Oh, my God. I'm like, please do it. I was begging them. Crazy. Because I was like, who's going to take care of my baby? Oh, my God. He's up there without me. Who's going to take care of him up there? He's waiting for me. I was a mess. I was a psychological wreck. So much stuff on my plate, like built up. So I served. Okay, so we get to San Diego, and I didn't want Nicholas not to see his dad. They both have their birthdays are in March, so Keith, the dad, and I took Nicholas to the Mesa Police Department parking lot and met John there, but Keith was filming, and John was like livid. But oh well, I just want it on camera. I don't trust you, and this is how it's going to be. I want safety for my child, I don't care what you're telling yourself, but this is just how it's going to be. You know what I mean? And he was so mad. He was just like, oh my God. There's no way. Oh my God. But so they got to see each other for the birthday. I wasn't trying to keep Nicholas from his father at all. I wanted him to be part of his life. As a matter of fact, I was hoping that doing those classes would be incentive because he was worth it to him. But instead, his mother was like, oh, forget that. We're just going to, they're like this right-wing, conservative, make company. They live on a yacht. She owns a travel agency. And here I am, this poor, destitute, Social Security, like, welfare mom with Nicholas. And full-time care. You know, I mean, it's not like I could really get another job. Get a job. I would have to find daycare, and we had just gotten to San Diego, and I was just trying to establish him with not special children's clinic. It's called a regional center. That's for handicapped children. But his neurosurgeon, Dr. Hector James, who had come up and seen him on rounds at 6 months, saw him at age 5 when we got to San Diego, because that's where his home office is, and said he could not believe, for the amount of brain damage that he had from the hydrocephalus, what an engaged and lively child he was. He was not like cerebral palsy children sit there and they're very catatonic. They don't have a lot of emotional assets. He was just laughing and dancing around and just so hilarious. Oh my God. We had like him and I together were like the Nicholas and Mommy show. My God, we were just like hilarious together. We had a whole bunch. I taught him fruit flavors I taught him colors with fruit flavors. Oh my God, he danced. I taught him. Anyway, so when we were living at the McCracken's house with the 5 kids, and Rosie was like 11, she's now a pediatric oncologist, and she wrote a great letter for board for me, speaking out on everything, because she was there for the whole countdown, right? She went to court with me, to file papers. I felt like I was running out of time. I felt like I was waiting for an attorney to help me, the San Diego Volunteer Lawyer Program, but I was indigent, so it was taking time, and there was no time left. But I'm filing paperwork, not realizing it's supposed to be on specific paper, specific font, specific, size letters. I didn't know, and the clerk doesn't tell you. They just take your stuff, and it could be totally inadmissible. I'm sitting here doing it in different fonts, trying to establish some kind of backstory so that people knew what was going on. And I couldn't get a restraining order because they said he hasn't hurt you in California. I said, well, what's he supposed to do? Kill me first before you guys are going to listen? This man has hurt us. And I went to the police station. I have that picture. I tried to show that picture with the strangle marks on my neck. It was all too little, too late. And then his mother decided to take over, and we'll just take Nicholas from her. We'll just take him from her, and you won't have to pay any money. And so the attorney came in and on the restraining order hearing and told him that Nicholas was born in California, which he was not, so he was not even a resident yet to be able to establish any paperwork. We hadn't even been there 6 months yet, so it was 3 months, and I'm sitting there trying to establish stuff with doctors and his specialty medical. I had to buy a car. It was just crazy. I had so much stacked against me, and they were pointing fingers at me look at her. She doesn't have anything, and whatever. Well, you know what I have is love, and I love this baby more than life, and I gave up my life for this baby, and you guys don't even know because you never even came to Las Vegas and saw us together. You're just listening to this guy who ran back down home after 7 years and played victim. I don't care about all that. All I care about is being safe now. So I tried to get a restraining order, and they said they tried to take custody, and I ran. I took off. I freaked out. You're not taking this baby from me. He has never left my side. He's going to shrink into a little ball, into a shell, and wither away without me. One time I had to go to California for a medical procedure for 2 weeks, and Nicholas was so in a little ball. Rosie talks about it too in her letter, that he was a different child after visitation was gone. He had 2 visits, and it was too much. Not without. He needed. I wanted him to have supervised visits until he got some kind of fucking help for his fucking anger problems. And I was in no position to demand anything, I guess, because money speaks louder than words. And I ran. I freaked out, and I ran. I went to Alpine Flint Springs and was cleaning a pool house at a holiday park, Country Creek Holiday RV Resort Park in Flint Springs. It's really nice. It's like a little meadowy, wooded. People go there with their mobile homes and take vacations and stuff. And this businessman was hiding us because he was like worried, you know. He's like, man, he's like, this is a horrible situation, but he couldn't keep us hidden forever. I mean, I freaked out. I melted down. They turned off Nicholas's Social Security to try and lead me out of wherever I was. And I was like, I can't even feed my baby anymore. And I was like, I can't even, I don't want to write bad checks. I don't want to run out of the state, even though my friend was telling me to come to Nebraska. I was afraid to leave the state because I would cross state lines, and then I'd be in real trouble. This is too much. And I took 170 phenobarbital to commit suicide and gave Nicholas one of his fusion eggs, 100 milligrams. Okay, come here, little bird. My little bird is hungry. I have a rescue. We rescue birds here. I do anyway. So I woke up in a coma. I was in a coma for like 3 weeks. I woke up in the hospital, and Nicholas was gone, and I was alive, and I could not believe I lived. And it's been like, oh my God, the most horrifying, grief-stricken nightmare ever since. Because look what happened. Oh my God, it's crazy. Crazy. So that was it. I had snapped. I couldn't take another thing, and I thought that I'd be safer in heaven. And a complete meltdown. Crying for weeks. It was a mess. It was a hot mess. I had no resources. I had no recourse. I felt isolated. I had no money, no way to feed my baby. My mother was nowhere to be found. I just, I gave up. I was like, we're better off not around at all. Because nobody understands. And I can't, I was afraid he would wither into his little shell without me. I couldn't bear the thought of him being without me. I mean, that was his everything. You know what I mean? That was my mistake, to think that I was the only one that could take care of him. I may have been the only one that could take care of him the way I took care of him, but I'm sure, you know, with resources, he could have been well taken care of. But I didn't expect John to do it. His mother maybe, but they would have ended up institutionalizing him. Nicholas was a full-time job. He was a full care child. He was like a 1-year-old. And I was afraid they would institutionalize him, and he would have died of a broken heart. I was devastated by it all. I was afraid he'd get molested if he was in anybody else's care. I mean, they got to me. Why wouldn't they get to him? Who's he going to speak? He can't speak and talk about it. I was overwhelmed by huge fears that just froze me. And that's what happened. And nowadays, I just sit here and I advocate from where I was a victim, and I've gotten 2 moms their kids back by sitting in on telephonic court. I've taught myself the law, all kinds of law, custody, everything, constitutional law. I filed a 42-1983 civil complaint on behalf of the Native American elders here for medical care and medical deliberate indifference. I advocate and I fight for everybody. I don't care who you are. If you're a knucklehead, I still will fight for you, because I didn't have that, and I have the capacity for it. So I feel like it's my only way to honor such a shameful memory. I did my college up north at Chowchilla. I got 100 college credits altogether. I was on the Dean's List 3 out of 4 semesters, 3.8 GPA, all psychology, all A's, ethics. ethics.ee, which is ironic that I'm in prison. It's like, this isn't the place if you're an ethical person. If you have high integrity, this is not the place to watch everybody backstab each other. But so, and Rosie has been in touch with me. I still have the same best friends from high school. I have the same 4 best friends for 45 years now, and they're still in my corner. They still back me up. And both of the Parker sisters were witnesses to the violence. But when I went to trial, when I went to court, nobody wanted to hear about any exacerbating circumstances because it wasn't Nicholas that hurt me. It was John. So why didn't I kill John? Why did I, there was no reasoning. There was none of that then. There was like, if you couldn't have John or Nicholas, then no one could. And that was, they demonized me, which was not the case at all. But at the time I was in such grief. I don't even remember that year. I was under heavy psychiatric medication. Oh my God, it's a hot mess.
So can you talk about
Hello.
how you passed away and the circumstances regarding that?
So I'm on the run. I'm staying in a mobile home at this RV resort park. This businessman is keeping me and Nicholas, giving us a place to stay to clean the pool house and do some groundskeeping. I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to go to Nebraska to be with my best friend Robin. She just had a baby. I'm afraid to cross state lines because of the paperwork that's going on. Little did I know that because there was no DNA, there was no paternity test. There was just an assumption of paternity because I had answered paperwork back. It would have been dropped. I could have crossed state lines. I didn't know my rights. That's the thing about all this is that I did not know. Now I try to know. I want to know everything. I want to know legal stuff when it comes to any kind of inmate, anything. But back then I knew nothing, and I was overwhelmed by the gravity of everything. So I'm staying at this place, and I'm so depressed. I was so heartbroken. They turned Nicholas's Social Security off to try and flush us out. And I was like, oh my God, I can't write bad checks to feed the baby. What am I going to do? It was just like time was running out, and I was grief-stricken, crying for weeks. I was an emotional mess. I needed mental health help by then. I needed medication for bipolar. I needed medication for depression, for postpartum. I needed medication for trauma that I'd been through. I didn't know. All the stuff was buried, and here it is exploding out in this culmination of just a horrible life mistake. I just thought that I'd be better off dead. I couldn't live without my baby, and I thought he couldn't live without me, and I took 170 feet of arbitol. I gave Nicholas one, and that was his seizure medication, but it was an overdose, and he died, and I did not. I took 17,000 milligrams and lived. I was outside my body the whole 9 yards. I was in a coma for 2.5 weeks. Bruce Birch tried to get me an attorney, but he couldn't. There was no fighting. That was just too much. They were trying to get me for like some evil poisoning of a handicapped child. Like none of what happened that built up to that ever came out, because of course that's my side, and I didn't go all the way to court. I took a deal because I didn't want to put my family through that. I didn't want to even put John's family through all that. I was so ashamed and so just grief-stricken. Oh, I can't explain to you. I could not listen to music for years. Every song reminded me of him. Everything. It's the most horrible, horrible thing ever. And I just was a zombie. I was a zombie pushing through, and I didn't care if they gave me the death penalty. I didn't care about nothing. They never called my friend Robin, and she was an eyewitness to violence. They never called her or subpoenaed her from Nebraska. My side was never heard, because back then, 26 years ago, there was no ACE. adverse childhood experiences test or questionnaire. There was no childhood trauma, considerations. There was nothing. It was just, Nicholas was not your abuser. Why is he gone and John is not? If that's what happened. And that's what happened. And, it's just been horrible ever since. The McCracken family stuck by me this whole time. They wrote letters to board for me. My best friend from high school stuck by me all this time. My dad, my family was by my side. My mom came back around in 2009, and I got to make her proud going to college from prison. I was excelling out of her, not living with my crazy mother. I was excelling in school, and I got both my votes, and I became an advocate. I advocate for moms like me, so that nobody ever gets to that point. I believe it's my duty to help others, because if I have the capacity to do so, I believe that my writing skills could be used to help others, to honor my family, and to try and honor the memory of my child who didn't have a mom that knew what she was doing back then.
So how long after the crime took place, after he was poisoned to death, were you arrested?
Poisoned to death. Overdose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that word was left out after they realized it was his medication that he took. I was arrested in the hospital and cuffed to the bed about a week after I woke up.
And do you remember what you were originally charged with?
Yes, I was originally charged with murder with special circumstances because they considered it a poisoning. And then it was lessened to the charge that I got after more stuff came out. But, it's still 25 to life. I didn't care. I just was like, I'm not going to go to trial. I'm not going to put anybody through all that. I can't believe what I'm doing. My family's military heroes. You know what I mean? I'm not putting people through that. That was my bad. My shame. I didn't want to even put. John's mother wrote me from when I was in Chowchilla. She wrote me when I first got there. And I was like, at the time, I was still a battered woman syndrome. I'm still totally a mouse, still believing it, not seeing the whole picture. And I was like, oh my gosh, she finally believes me now. She must feel bad because they pushed me over the edge. She wrote me for a while. She even sent me a box. And then she wrote me and told me, well, I won't be writing you anymore because John's getting married and they're expecting their first son. And I was like, a nail in the coffin. I was like, what do you want me to do? Reserve a bump for her? I'm thinking, that's going to be his next victim.
You said that you didn't take it to trial and you pleaded out to 25 to life?
Yeah. I pleaded out to not a murder charge, an assault charge. Even though I was really worried about the assault. What do you mean assault? I've never hurt my child in my life, but instead, okay, what do you think? Come on, man. It was an assault on him to give him more medication than prescribed. But at the time, I was like, my mind, I was so immature and so tunnel vision, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to go to trial and make everybody in my family, his family, go through all that. Why? I did it. I did something horrible. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I didn't. So I started working on insight in my college, when I was doing college in 2008 to 2011. I was all my psychology classes, I was like, oh, this is where my mom was missing this, and this, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, trauma repetition, compulsion, Sigmund Freud, just everything. I even submitted a narrative for publication with the Harvard Educational Review in 2012. I was published. And I got to take a class with BYU. I took epidemiology because of my academic excellence, and I got a letter of recommendation from California Coalition for Women Prisoners. They used to come and see me every 90 days. I speak up and I speak out a lot. I've done a lot of growing. I look back on the person that I was and think, what a little kid. I was I'm a strong-willed person, right? And I've always had to take care of my sisters, and my IQ is 150, but that doesn't mean that I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that I'm right. Of course not. I was still a victim to circumstance, and then Nicholas ends up being my victim, which is ridiculous because he was my precious child.
So after you were convicted and sentenced, do you remember what the bus or van ride was like going to prison?
Yeah. I remember I was on heavy psych meds. I was really out of it. I was on heavy antipsychotic medication because I was suicidal for at least, a few years, but the first year especially, I don't even remember for it. I remember it being cold and them playing the music, jazz, always playing jazz. When we go down to San Diego Port downtown from Las Colinas, and I remember not ever wanting to hear the wave ever again. Back then it was smooth jazz on the wave, and I loved that channel, but I could never listen to it again. It was cold, and I had gained a lot of weight from the medication and stuffing my face with potato chips and stuff. I don't know, man, because I was like grease. I was like 225 pounds, which is crazy for me because I was a dancer. So, like right now, I weigh 135. I still have the same physique I had before, but it was crazy. I was miserable. It was miserable. I just felt like I was when I landed in prison, it was like, what 7-Eleven do these people go to? Where were these people in the real world, right? Because I've never been to juvenile hall or county jail or like in and out or none of that. So I was just like, a beach girl lands in like the real environment. And lucky for me, I was very timid and I was very easy. I've always had dogs. It was very easy to tell what to do. So like I didn't have any upheavals like with people. I was like very compliant and I was a model prisoner. I've never had one incident of violence in 25 years. None. Nothing on record. Nothing. I've never been to jail. I don't get in trouble for drugs or drinking. Nothing. I just did my college. I did super smoke. And now I just do all self-help groups. Now I'm the medical. Now I'm the medical liaison for executive inmate advisory council for the Golden Program, which is 55 plus. I'm 59 now, and I sit in on patient advisory council. Plus, I'm the ADA coordinator for. Thank you. I'll find you one. Okay. I'm ADA coordinator for my unit for ADA issues, and I am parliamentarian for the Golden Program executive body, so I take care of legal issues for 55 plus group here. And I wrote the ACLU and ADA attorneys trying to get them in here to take care of people's ADA issues. I do all kinds of stuff. And I rescue birds.
Prior to coming to prison or since coming to prison, have you been diagnosed with any type of mental illnesses?
Yeah, I was diagnosed way back in county with bipolar. Now I'm pretty stable. I've been on medication my whole time, and I'm happy because, oh my God, something that works, right? Something that calms me down or like keeps me from being depressed. Of course I'm compliant. I like that it works. It's the kind of medication you need, not self-medicating with alcohol or whatever. That's like maladaptive coping mechanisms. But now I have like chronic depression. That's about it.
So is there anything you would like the public to know about yourself or this case?
Well, I'd like them to know that I plan on getting my master's degree. I'm five classes short of my bachelor's degree in psychology. I plan on getting my master's degree. I would like to study. I'd like to work on the climate crisis. I'm very, very worried about the Earth and the drastic change in the heat and what's going on with the temperatures and the rising oceans. I would like to go to UCSD or Cal State San Diego. Underground scholars or Root and Rebound will pay for my master's degree. I have a place to stay in Encinitas. I'm ready. I just want to go and do something and make a difference because I can't change the past, but I can be some part of the future that helps smitten things. I would like to maybe even start a nonprofit and open a home in the San Diego County area for women and their children to reunite because there's a really big need. There's none in San Diego. I have ideas. I've got a lot of plans. I want to write my grandparents' war story for PBS, doing Ancestry.com. And I wrote a children's book for Nicholas. So, I mean, I'm doing what I can to try and honor what is nothing but a shameful, sad situation, and at least make something better out of it. That's what I'd like people to know, and that there's no excuse for what happened, but I was just a traumatized child acting out on the trauma that had happened to me, and I snapped. And it's not John's fault. I stayed with him, and I had to realize that it's because him and my mother are very much alike. They have the same trauma repetition compulsion. I have the trauma repetition compulsion to try and fix what had happened as a child with me, with John, and you can't do that. You can't fix something now for something that happened then to somebody else. But that's my insight on why I stayed. But it's not his fault. I stayed. I'm the one that had the low self-esteem and codependency issues.
All right. So before we conclude this interview, is there anything that you'd like to talk about that we haven't covered yet?
No, I just want to thank CDCR for giving me a chance to realize my worth. Coming to prison saved my life, of course. So anything I've gone through in prison or whatever is par for the course because I was trying to kill myself and I would never even know that I could get straight A's in psychology had I not come to prison. And I had the chance to make my mother proud, which was an unexpected blessing from prison. I mean, come on, one of her children finally went to college. Just that I'm a humble person and I struggle with this still every day, but I try to do my best to help others to overcome their difficulties so they never get into a position where they make such a rotten choice. That's it. That's about it. Oh, that I'm almost 60. Time to go home. Do something good for the world.
That was my interview with Krista Funk. Thank you for listening.